Welcome back, everybody. So I'm gonna make my attempt at my first miniature painting. So this is from Dungeons and Dragon, the Cloaker. So I decided to go with the biggest miniature that I have because I've never painted one of these things. So also the fact that it comes with a base that I could actually hold, and I don't have to buy a separate one to use. So these are the paints that I'm going to be using. This is the color palette, but I might change it. And then this right here is what's called a wet palette. So it's very, very simple. It's a very wet cloth, or you can use uh, sponge sheets. Wet it, and then put a little layer of parchment paper, not wax paper, because the water will not make the paper damp. So, and of course, my dirty water and clean water and the napkin. So let's get it. Let's start. Okay, so I'm going to use the number 10 pen, and I'm going to use the base for the top of the cloaker with Viridian. So I'm going to start painting that. Alright, so I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. I figured out a little bit of a setup. So, like we said, the base color, the darker one is going to be Viridian. And then the sap green for highlights. Yes, we got nice color. So I don't think I'm gonna need too much, so if I need more than this, I'll squeeze some more out. And the last time I painted anything was decades ago. So these were the paintbrushes that were included with my paint kit. So let's see how this will apply. So I'm going to do the top layer this color, and then underneath I'm going to do more like a neutral color, like maybe like a skin type of color. The consistency seems decent enough. So I'm going to try and not get any of the paint on his face. Too late. So if you don't know what a wet palette is, it's to prevent your paints from drying up prematurely. Alright, so let's make sure we get into those little cracks. I'm going to try as much as I can to keep the figure in frame, but I can't see the camera. Oh, too much. Good. So having a steady hand is definitely helpful. And since I've reduced the amount of coffee I drink, that has definitely helped. I was actually completely shocked at how many viewers my first video did for the miniature haul. It's a couple of places where it's a little bit too thick. Alright, so I'll let that. Okay, so I think I might have had my paintbrush not wet enough because I got some clumps. Painting his little hands. Try not to get the paint on his face. And every time I say try to not to do something, I always do it. Now I've been watching a few videos on how to do painting and stuff like that. That's where I got the idea for the paint, well, for the wet pellets. Okay. So I think that's good for a first layer. So we're gonna let that dry and then potentially do a second layer or move to the underside. Right, so I made the classic newbie mistake of putting up too much paint, not enough water. So I applied a second layer, so as you guys can see, it's a little bit greener, not as dark. So I'm going to apply a third layer. So I do kind of realize that maybe this tube paint is not ideal acrylic tube paint for miniatures. But we are going to do the job done. Appropriate paints for miniature painting. So you guys have seen me paint this over and over. So I'll stop it here and then I'll move to the next color. Right, so we got a bit more surface coverage, but that initial thick layer is a bit hard to break through. Okay, so I figured out a little bit of a trick, and I'm calling it the tap. So this is a manta ray. So what I'm doing is I'm tapping the top of the manta ray with my index finger at about 90% paint dried time. So that way it gives the back of the manta ray, the cloaker, a bit more of a leathery texture. Because if you've ever seen a manta ray, you know it's not smooth. So I haven't seen anybody talking about this. As far as I've seen, I've only seen like a good 5-10 videos. So this is something you guys might want to consider. Also, another great thing to have, a lot of people aren't talking about it in their hobby videos, is a hand dryer. This will drastically cut down the time of drying. Instead of waiting like 15-20 minutes for your acrylic to dry, 5 minutes and the paint is workable again. So I'm gonna do one final layer, a fourth layer, and then I'm gonna move to the bottom side or the face, we'll see. All right, so I'm gonna be moving on to the bottom part. So I'm going to be using raw sienna for it. So, wet your brush. Grab some paint. Grab some more water. Water. H2O. It's not just for drinking. It's also for painting. Alright, so top, bottom. So I'm going to start off with the outer. And the belly, I might do something different now that I'm looking at it. Okay, perfect. I was actually afraid that it wasn't going to catch. Alright, so there's going to be some parts where I'm going to need a lighter touch, so a thinner brush. So you always want to make sure that you're painting, you're stroking with the same motion. Now most people paint from inside to outside. Alright, so this might be a bit tricky. Alright, so far so good. All right, so I think that's good for layer number 1. So I think his underbelly, I'm gonna do lighter over here and then mix more pinkish at the undercarriage that I just dirtied. Okay, and we're back. So I finished doing the underside for the flaps and the tail, or the wings and the tail. So now the next part I'm going to work on is going to be his face, his beautiful, beautiful face. So, and for that, I'm going to start off with the base layer, crimson red. So I think that's going to be a good dark color to go with the other dark colors, the green and the raw sienna. So I'm not going to need too much. So honestly, man, so far I'm actually very, very impressed with the quality of these paints. So this whole kit of 48 paints cost me, with the taxes, $30. So I was reading the reviews, and the reviews for the paint were actually very, very decent. So I was like, all right, I'll buy it. Now I was reading some reviews on other paints that were around the same price range. And what I didn't like was that a lot of them had one thing in common: the color and the vibrancy of the paints kind of sucked. So I was like, nope. And this one had good reviews all around except for one person. And I think there were about 98 reviews. Alright, so I'm getting the paint all over him. So today I'm just doing the base layers. And then tomorrow I'm gonna get into the finer details. And this paint set comes with 8 brushes. And like I said before, I did used to paint when I was younger. And the brushes are very good quality. So if you are watching, I am looking for sponsorships. And I will be making a video shortly, maybe by the time this video comes out, who knows. But I will be doing a video to announce my store, where I'll be selling posters, t-shirts, mugs, pins, and all that beautiful stuff. So stay tuned for that. So this is really small, so I'm not sure how much you guys are seeing of his face. So I'm going to make the eyes yellow, and his teeth are going to be as well a yellowish color. So I'll do a couple more layers of this, of his face, and BRB. Now we're gonna move to the last part for today, so the undercarriage. So for that, I'm gonna use flesh tint. I was gonna originally use light beige, soft beige, but because this one is a little bit darker, I think it's gonna be a better idea. But I was also contemplating Naples yellow. So what I'm gonna do is this part here is going to be the flat color, and then this part here I'm going to highlight it a little bit by mixing some pink in it, because this is all the sensitive parts, so obviously it's going to be a bit more fleshy looking. So let's have a look at what Naples yellow looks like. So let's have a look. At flesh tint. Okay, I think the undercarriage is going to be Naples yellow. So we're not going to need too much of that. So we're going to probably do 3 decent layers. So again, the brand is Hoo-Hoo, and it is very, very decent. The paints I'm talking about. Again, Hoo-Hoo. Looking for sponsorships. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm crushing the blobs, because you don't want to have blobs in your paint. All right, so let's start painting. I'm really hoping that the video comes out in good focus. Because I've never really recorded a video in this manner. Where I'm constantly moving in and out of camera distance. So with this paintbrush, it's a little bit harder to do the first layer uniform, but that's what the second, third, and fourth layer will be for. All right, so let's move to the next step. All right, muchachos, so I'm doing the final layer for the undercarriage. And then tomorrow I will start doing the cleanup work and the details. So I'm using a different brush than I was before. So that brush is better for details. And these flat brushes are better for coverage. So we test and we learn. All right, so that's looking good. All right, so I'll see you guys at the details. How are we looking so far? Oh, censored. Can't look at the naughty bits of the action figure. All right, so the first day's painting is done. Now tomorrow I'm gonna work on the details. And a bit of the cleanup work. Like, comment, subscribe. Jigavega out.